Bonjour, Cray, good day, DAE Recorder. My name is Dr. Francis Scully. I'm the founder of Be Compassionate NL, and now I am calling what I'm writing about crack and conviviality. Okay, so to step back a little bit, I was born in Belfast, adopted to Dublin by lovely people, and I was very lucky. And as a child, a little girl, my only sister and I were blessed to grow up in a beautiful place on the North Dublin coast called Howth. In Irish, it's called Bean Éidir, the Hill of Éidir. And I was fortunate as a child that I was taken with beautiful Irish stories, and I really and truly believed that I lived at the place where Fionn of the Fianna had hunted and trained his warriors. And in fact, looking back, I would say I was the beneficiary of Antashka, an Irish Republic government organisation that tried to preserve lands. And I and others were also the beneficiaries of an Anglo-normal family that I guess came to that area, came to Vienna there, I think maybe in the 12th century with the Anglo-Norman invasions, and probably fought and built their castle there, and then were there for in different forms with the, of course, system that came from the Romans through the British of primogeniture, or the rights of the firstborn son. So there was a family that owned the castle and land there. The first one, I think, was called Tristan, which is a beautiful name. I think that the warrior person. But after that, I don't think there was a lot of violence there that I'm aware of. Although there is there, when I was growing up, I looked at the ruins of St. Mary's Abbey, and um, I would need to check when exactly those occurred. Now, of course, sadly, when I was growing up, Christianity in Ireland was very divided into sectarian groups. And so I had my family, my adopted family, who were wonderful, my adopted parents, Moira, Kathleen Devine, and my father, James Dermot Scully, were very, they were genuinely ecumenical. And in the family, my father's side, I had grandaunts who married Protestants from Northern Ireland. I don't know the details, but they couldn't stay because there was so much sectarianism. They could not live in Northern Ireland, and they moved and lived somewhere in Clontarf. And but I don't know a lot of details about all this. All I know is that my parents were not at all sectarian, but our lives were sectarian because, and I think it's still a problem in Ireland, that schools were allocated based on baptismal and birth certificates. And so, like, you were funneled. When I was growing up, I automatically went to an Irish Roman Catholic national school, and they were very good. And most importantly, secondary school became free thanks to a man who was known as the education man, Minister Donal O'Malley, who was actually a member of Fianna Fáil, which would be considered sort of a right-wing conservative party. But somehow or other, fortunately, Donal O'Malley was part of a forward progressive group who wanted to join the European Union, felt that that would help Ireland, because when I was born in the 1950s, there was concern that the whole country was about to collapse, the whole population was about to collapse because of poverty and uh, the long term dreadful effects of colonialism and domination and competitive uh, uh, economies and so on. Uh, and Ireland had been exporting young people since, yeah, for centuries. With the result that now uh, there's quite a disproportionate number of people of Irish descent who live outside the Republic of Ireland, just as I do. And that has a lot of pros and cons, because it does mean that Irish people are inclined to travel and move for work, because there's often a community that they can join abroad, and sometimes at times that has not worked well for people, been very tragic, and other times it's worked very well for people. So yeah, so there are a lot of different things there. Anyway, um, June 12th, Thursday evening, late evening, I have to go and run some errands, and it is a beautiful sunny day here in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador, which is unusual, and I give thanks for that. I am also very aware that this is a time of great danger for actually for people everywhere, for humanity, a time of immense trial and danger. Um, there's a group who I think do good work, who are based, I think, well, that they have connections all over the planet, but a lot of people I've spoken to have never heard of them. But they have connections for sure to Norway, uh, northern Germany, and Sweden, and they're called Earth for All, and they look at uh, economics, both from they try to meld economics and community and social justice with the environment. And I think this is what we need to do, but it is certainly not easy. Here locally, our economy is currently totally dependent on revenue from oil and gas. I think are a huge proportion of our government services, 30 something percent, comes from the royalties we are paid from existing oil fields, and so many people here would like to pursue new oil exploration, build new oil fields, new pipelines, because of our economic situation and our dependence on oil. In addition, huge numbers of people here are used to now traveling for work, often to, so there are a lot of links between Newfoundland and Labrador and Alberta and the tar sands, and people are used to traveling back and forth to work. Now it seems all over the world. Last time I was traveling last November, I met a young woman from here, and somehow or other, I can't understand how this can be cost effective, but somehow or other, she was flying to work on a boat off the coast of somewhere in Australia, because I was impressed with what she was carrying with her. I'm always interested in uh, how people travel and manage and organize things and learning new skills. And this young woman had a sort of a fairly big backpack, but that was it. And she said it's because, she can't afford to have her stuff gets stuck somewhere while she's training planes or something all the way to Australia, and she had to have stuff there for to go on this boat for a few weeks. And I'm not sure exactly what she did. I could because we were just chatting as we boarded the plane, so I don't understand the whole thing. But I think it illustrates that there are people working all over the world, traveling all over the world, and so yeah, so um, how we are going to, because in some ways it's a good thing to manage some things locally, particularly food production, I think needs to be local. And um, here in Newfoundland and Labrador, something like 90% of our food is trucked in, which is, I think, to me, that's a frightening thought. It frightens me. And yes, so, uh, but growing and people who are called people here, I don't know what, I'm not originally from here, and the last thing I want to do is to in any way uh, insult somebody. Certainly not. That's not my intention at all. But my perception is that people who live in small communities uh, in Newfoundland and Labrador that were called outports um, and fished for a living, many of these people have, to me, extraordinary skills. Extraordinary skills. They sort of can turn their hand to anything because they had to. You know, they're living in these remote places, and they had to be able to, well, fish, but they also had to feed themselves and keep their houses and stuff organized. So they have tremendous skills, I find. Um, anyway, so and um, and people used to. I've seen movies from the 1930s here uh, of over, I forget the different names of them. And I met somebody recently in Churchill Square. But again, she was rushing, and she was telling me she's got Irish connections. I think she lives here now, but I think she's been in PEI as well. And she was telling me she had a name for these gardens, but people grew all sorts of beautiful green leafy vegetables. Now, now my professional background is as a medical doctor and a clinical researcher, and I specialize particularly in disorders of the blood and immune system. And I now have like one clinic a week for a benign hematology clinic. I tell people when they come looking very nervous that if they're at my clinic, they're supposed to only have a benign condition. It's supposed to be a non-urgent clinic. That's not to say people don't come who have sort of urgent problems, but that I haven't picked that up in the information sent to me. So anyway, I do my best, but I try to reassure people that if they're at my clinic, um, then they don't have leukemia or any of these conditions that sometimes require urgent attention, because mine is a non-urgent clinic. Anyway, and I want to hang on to my little clinic. So I want to follow all the codes of medical practice and keep up to date with all my information. And I've always been interested in what some people call holistic medicine, or, treating the whole person and lifestyle and all this sort of thing. So I've always been interested in nutrition and food. Not to say that I always practice what I preach, because I don't. But I try, and anyway, what I can guarantee you is green leafy vegetables are super good for you, but they can be hard to eat. And particularly, I found that when I had breast cancer treatment, I still have problems with my mouth. I still don't have saliva because I had chemotherapy, I had radiation, all this affected my teeth, my ability to chew and swallow. And so I can't eat all the lovely salads and, chew on kale and things, which I would have liked to do in the past. So I keep trying to find ways to increase my intake of green leafy vegetables with all the wonderful nutrients that are in these. Um, and I also want to make this enjoyable. So right now I got to go out and go to the post office, and I got to get some errands. So I'm going to head off to do that. But getting back to the reason I'm now calling my network, my Substack, Crack and Conviviality, is, as I've said before, that crack, CRAIC, is a word used. It actually, I think, comes from the English language, but it's a word used by Irish people meaning to have fun with other people. And I have taken courses now online with various Indigenous groups, including, and I've attended seminars that were organized by an amazing polymath, an Anglo American named Jeremy Lent. So, Jeremy is an incredibly brilliant person, and I still can't decide if it was good or bad that I took 2 online courses with him around 2020, 2021. I'd have to check exactly when, in the sense that my mind was blown with all the information Jeremy gave me. He has written 2 extraordinary books, The Patterning Instinct and The Web of Meaning. And I actually personally prefer The Web of Meaning. That's the one I particularly enjoyed. And I did not read 100% of either books. And I don't agree with the way Jeremy interprets everything. Specifically, I am a devout Irish Roman Catholic who loves Celtic spirituality and who loves uh, the work of Rabbi Jonathan Sacks and some other rabbis, and also the work of Ruby and other Sufis, and now Neil Douglas Klotz. So I feel that there is much of benefit in the, in the traditions, in the Abrahamic traditions, and so I don't. So Jeremy is inclined to blame monogamy. No, sorry, what is not monogamy? No, sorry, that's a mistake on my part. No, like monotheism. That's it. Yeah, Jeremy's inclined to feel that monotheism is the source of all our issues, and um, and I think he might have changed a little bit because I think other people were pointing out to him what an environmental advocate Pope Francis was, and I don't know if he ever got around to looking at Laudate Si and that sort of thing, and then Tutti Fratelli and so on, because the encyclicals that Pope Francis produced, to me, very much overlap with a lot of what Jeremy's extensive research into human cultures and beliefs and science and neuroscience uh, has brought him to. So anyway, so that's it. Because like in a nutshell, I think poor Christopher Hitchens maybe has moved on. He's not with us anymore. I'd have to check, but there are debates online where Christopher Hitchens I think it's Christopher Hitchens, I might be saying his name wrong, sorry, was, explaining why he's an atheist, and there's some person, defending Christianity, and usually this Christopher, as far as I'm concerned, is completely ethically correct, and the Christian is defending the indefensible. So my view is that our Lord Jesus is the Prince of Peace and came to bring us peace. And I'm not a mystic, and I certainly have not read and studied the Quran, so I'm not going there at all. I have Muslim friends, but my understanding is it starts off, or early on in the Quran, we are told that Allah is infinite love, is mercy and love incarnate, and I think that's true. So I think that our problems come from disconnection when we are upset, we humans, and when we experience adverse events, particularly throughout our lives, but as babies and children, and young people, when we experience adverse events, we often dissociate. So Rene Descartes, for example, his mother died when he was a 3-month-old baby, and his mother left behind 2 other small children. And his father did not abandon his children, even though he'd lost his wife and was grief stricken, and her mother didn't abandon them. They did their best to look after those children, but the loss of a mother early in life is very, very difficult. And Rene's father sent this little boy at about age 7 to study, I think maybe at the Jesuits, and he was doing the best he could for his son. And apparently he was a sickly child, and he was often allowed to sleep in and so on. And of course now, but at that time, people did not have the benefit of the results of the adverse childhood experience study. And when I started in medical school in 1973, we did not have the benefit of the results of the adverse childhood experience study. It wasn't even dreamt of at that time. This remarkable, pivotal study was created in the early 90s by Dr. Vincent Felitti, who was a physician at Kaiser Permanente Health somewhere in California, and Dr. Robert Nada, who was a physician at the Center for Disease Control. I'm not sure how they were connected or whether they trained together, were friends, whatever, but the two of them developed this project called the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study, and Dr. Felitti developed a questionnaire with 10 questions. You can find that online. And then he decided to give this questionnaire the numbers are all easily accessible, or they were. I don't know, with Doge and all the dreadful stuff Doge has done, all the mess Doge and Big Balls has done. I don't know if they've got as far as mucking up the results of the Center for Disease Controls on the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study. I haven't looked. I don't want to look. I don't know. I don't want to see what other stupid stuff these guys have done. These poor, benighted, confused, toxic people. But I know they have created immense chaos, and I know they have disrupted, the careers and the lives of all kinds of very well-intentioned, altruistic people who were devoting their lives to public service, to medicine, to the truth, to science, and wham bam, and all this stuff, I can tell you, is not easy. Not easy at all. And it requires great grit and determination and years and years and years and years and years of training, disappointments, applying for this, that, and the other, trying to get funding for your research. It is a tough life. I have been there. I know all about it. And I have to calm down because I I could be very angry with the idiots behind, with Stephen Miller, Felon Trump, and the whole everyone in the GOP who has supported Senator Robert Kennedy from Louisiana, who was educated in Oxford. So, Senator Robert Kennedy, you're not that stupid. So for you to be standing there saying, "Oh, Donald Trump, President Trump is a great president," when he is the most corrupt, authoritarian, focused thief, traitor that your country has ever seen, Senator Kennedy. So I have no patience for you, my dear, and any other of these fake Southern, like, I do actually love the Southern U.S. accent. And fortunately, I know people from the Southern U.S. who are genuine people and who care and who don't lie. And they're just wonderful people. Yeah, and they don't get as mad as I do about things, or they may do at times. But anyway, calm, gotta keep calm. Anyway, so I'm heading off. I've got some chores to do, but I want to say that my heart is with all the educators, all the people who believe in all the humanitarians, those who believe in common humanity, all the environmentalists, all the scientists, all the researchers, all the physicians, nurses, everybody who cares and who tries to do their best to help people, and particularly those who really try to look for the truth, because the truth is very complicated and hard to find. As I said, when I went to medical school, we didn't know about the ACE study. It's a pivotal study. And we should now be incorporating it into everything that we do, but because somehow or other, sociopaths, extremely predatory, destructive sociopaths, have managed to fool, confuse, brainwash enough Americans to vote for them, that they have grabbed power and are very destructive. Now, despite all this, I need to take a deep breath. We all need to take a deep breath. And I do teach online courses about how to ground oneself and how to develop compassion. And I'm going to work at it tonight to try and develop compassion. Actually, I have learned how to develop compassion for Stephen Miller because I have discovered, I have to check and see who the brilliant journalist is who's being punished for pointing out that Stephen Miller was very traumatized as a 9-year-old boy because his wealthy family fell out of the first percent. Now I understand this because I've fallen out of the first percent in 20, starting in 27, and particularly starting in 2016, and I have not enjoyed it all, Stephen. No, it's brutal. It's tough. We're used to being in the 1%, and bang, it's gone. Now it's very tough. And you were 9 years old, so it's probably very, very tough for you. So I'm sorry for that. And I don't know how this led you to now want to bring in the National Guard, start a civil war in the US, uh, in Los Angeles, and you are focusing on the very areas where you lived as a child. And That's unfortunate, Stephen. Unfortunate for you. And the thing is, yeah, even one of your rabbis has written to say that they are distancing themselves from you. So anyway, so but for the grace of God go I. So I praying, meditating, begging God to please calm, calm, calm everybody. Calm the lunatics who are in the White House and who grabbed power in the US. Particularly, God, do not allow felon Trump to have MAGA take over the US armed forces. Please, God, no, 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 no. It is too dangerous, too bad. Yeah. So anyway, we have to stay calm. We have to try to practice nonviolence resistance, which is brutally hard to do. It is so difficult to love one's enemies. So difficult. And yet it can be done. I just picked this book up today, and I'm going to read some of this tonight. It's Crisis Contemplation. I'm very sad to learn that Barbara A. Holmes is no longer with us. She has joined the community of saints. And I don't know how I know that, and I've got to check into that because I had hoped at some point to either take a course with her online or come and meet her somewhere because I loved her work. And but I see now she's a quote from Bio Akomalafe, A Slower Urgency, We Will Dance with Mountains. And I know he is part of the Pocket Project. If any of you don't know about the Pocket Project, have a look at that. And Bio Akomalafe is a name I've heard in many different circles now. And he says, the times are urgent. Let us slow down. Traditional African wisdom saying slowing down is about lingering in the places we are not used to, seeking out new questions, becoming accountable to more than what rests on the surface, seeking roots. Slowing down is taking care of ghosts, hugging monsters, sharing silence, embracing the weird. The idea of slowing down is not about getting answers. It is about questioning our questions. It is about staying in the places that are haunted. And this is from Bio Akomalafe. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing his name correctly. A slower urgency. We will dance with mountains. God be with all nonviolent resistors in Canada, in the US, in Israel, in Gaza. I don't know how you can do it in Gaza, but in Gaza, in 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 England, in the United Kingdom, in Ireland, in France, in Germany, in Russia, where they're horribly, horribly, horribly treated too. Everywhere, people who are committed to non to respond to provocation, injustice, brutality, cruelty with non-violence, who are determined to break the cycle of misery. My blessings on all of you. My blessings on you now and every minute of the day and every minute tonight. I am with you. I'm thinking of you. I'm praying for you. I'm hoping for you. And I too, I veer between hope and terror. So anyway, I am off to do some errands and blessings. Good evening.